and it represented the symbol used by the new Dark Queen Alicia Termina in her new kingdom. This brings up another fact that wasn't in the novel. The walls of Namaran and Queen Alicia must be connected. His presence caused several changes. The queen did not turn evil. The events that enabled Narhan to disappear didn't happen. Someone is trying to do something that didn't happen in the novel. Kanaro, the dark mage who made the walls of Namaran and sent countless people to their deaths, is Lloyd's main suspect. The MC asks Baron Polion to resume construction. His parents are worried because he has barely rested. Lloyd reveals he will go to Namaran and catch the bastard responsible for this. On another day in Frontera County, approximately 6.2 miles north, is the waste management facility. Lloyd asks Padong to open the large cover. Then the MC says it's Solitas's turn to do his part. The dragon goes to the edge of the station, channeling his mana. Mentally, he commands the waste to rise. The mountain of waste starts to ascend toward the station's exit, forming a dense mass with various items united into a single piece. Then, Solitas's eyes flash red, and he begins to transform, returning to his original dragon form. Looking at him, Lloyd thinks that one day people will know this story. Solitas has willingly used his powers for human health and hygiene. He will be known as the legendary Solitas, the Dragon of Fecal Destruction. Solitas is annoyed. He doesn't want to be known by such a title. According to the MC, being a man of science, he couldn't be good at naming things. With this achievement, the system shows that Lloyd has established the concept of public health and earned the title of Toilet Ghost. Returning Javier asks when his master intends to go to Namaran. They should go soon with a plan or the trip will be a waste. The swordsman catches Lloyd's attention to look ahead. Several noble carriages are parked in front of the Frontera mansion. The MC has a bad feeling about this. Inside the mansion, his father explains that the rejection letters were not well received, so the nobles sent their daughters hoping he would change his mind. Deep down, Lloyd is enjoying it. His father is worried about not having grandchildren. Rumors are spreading about his son being defective. Even the system mocks the lack of romance in the MC's life. In the end, it's not bad to have a line of women waiting for him, but what really matters are their parents waiting for a chance to make an alliance with the Frontera family. The first girl enters the room. She is enchanted at first sight by Javier, thinking he was her suitor. When she finds out that the MC is the suitor, she looks disgusted. Knowing that she has no interest, Lloyd says goodbye. The door closes, and the MC waits. The new candidate is focused solely on Javier, thinking he is the suitor. Once again, Lloyd explains he is the son of the Count, and not Javier. The girl also looks at him with disgust. As soon as he and Javier are alone, the swordsman reveals that he is not finding this amusing. According to his master, he knows very well how the girls judge him. Then a new candidate enters. It seems that this one caught Lloyd's attention. She looks familiar. She bows and introduces herself as Selena Cremo, the eldest daughter of Count Cremo. In the novel, Lloyd thought she was the heroine and Javier's love interest, but she ended up sacrificing herself to protect the people of Namaran. This left the readers outraged. Selena says she is there at her father's insistence, but confesses that she found the suitor much better than described. Lloyd explains that he is her suitor, not Javier. Surprisingly, she knew this, and also that Javier is a renowned master swordsman. Realizing that she found the MC pleasant, leaves both him and the swordsman petrified. The girl sits down and says it must be strange for Lloyd to receive these proposals at a time when he is so busy. She saw the buildings and roads he is constructing. Thinking she will be rejected, she asks to leave, but the MC wants to talk a bit more. He asks if Namaran is going through difficulties like a significant population increase. Indeed, approximately 1,000 refugees went to her county. They were led by someone just as Lloyd imagined. Namaran's walls are a spell designed to absorb the vital energy of those within them. They were built to trap the refugees needed for Canaro's spell. The MC had thought all the refugees had gone to his county, but some ended up in Namaran. If things happen, as in the novel, thousands of people will be sacrificed to summon the Knight of Hell. No matter how strong Javier is, he is no match for a Knight of Hell. This is much worse than Lloyd feared. On another day, the MC is ready to begin his journey, and Javier is holding a basket full of love letters given to him by the girls. He realizes that his master may have never received such a letter, and confirms that he really never has. Since not everyone can be as handsome, Javier offers one of the letters. Lloyd takes a good look. For an instant, tension forms between the two. Then Lloyd gives Javier a smile and says he wouldn't want a letter that wasn't addressed to him. While his master continues walking, Javier remains kneeling, probably feeling foolish. After that, inside a carriage, Lloyd is explaining to Selena that there are several ways to use these structures. Since Namaran was built on a ridge, it's natural for the surrounding slopes to erode. Even without securing the marriage, Selena thinks her father will be delighted with the presence of someone like Lloyd. This is the perfect opportunity to investigate Canaro and still make money with a new project. Almost arriving at Namaran, the MC is confident he will win the dispute against the Dark Mage. Shortly after the carriages arrive at the county, and through the window, Selena points out Canaro, the head of the merchant caravan. He cared for the refugees and takes on even the most tedious jobs. Lloyd stares at the merchant. On his shirt is the same symbol that Baron Polion found. Now the MC knows what this hypocrite looks like, and he plans to deal with him soon. At the mansion of the Count of Namaran, they receive his two guests. Looking at Javier, he happily asks what the best date for the wedding would be. The two remained silent. Then his daughter explains that Javier is a knight, and Lloyd is the other guy. He can't believe it. The swordsman exudes the dignity of a noble, while the MC does not. Selena reprimands him, saying he is being rude and should look beyond people's facades. Even if it seems something is lacking, Lloyd is wise and intelligent. At that moment, Javier abruptly turns to see if she was talking about his master. The MC listens silently as she says that he is not there for them to marry but to solve problems with the county structure. While the Count is pleased he won't have an ugly son-in-law, the MC remains silent as the Count is reprimanded again. She thinks that due to his appearance, Lloyd must have been mistreated all his life, at which point he almost cried. Seeing his master in such a situation is so satisfying that Javier is glowing with emotion. Javier starts laughing, losing control. He pats the Count on the shoulders to start the project, but he doesn't understand what is happening as Lloyd is threatening the servant who won't stop laughing at his master. After all this commotion still at the Count's mansion, the MC asked Javier to keep an eye on Canaro. Since they both saw the symbol he was wearing, if they find evidence linking it to dark magic, he wants to inform the Count about what happened in his county. Still pleased with what happened earlier, the swordsman agrees, smiling. Lloyd wants to know why he is laughing at a serious matter, but Javier can't forget what happened. His master says nothing, and the two remain silent until the MC can't hold back his irritation and tries his hardest to land a punch on the master swordsman. The next day, it's time to explore the county. A man is shouting for people to come closer. He is a clothes vendor offering great promotions. Looking at the pieces, Lloyd realizes his plans have become complicated. The symbol he wants to link to dark magic is printed on all the clothes. Then Javier appears. His master asks if he found anything suspicious, but he hasn't seen Canaro do anything besides taking care of the refugees. The swordsman wanted to investigate the merchant's house, but it is guarded by a magical lock. He could easily break it, but might be caught. He also discovered that the symbol on the clothes is from a wandering minstrel and is very popular. Lloyd thinks that maybe they need to find the minstrel, but if the wall is built in the meantime, it will be the end of them. The novel didn't give details about how the wall's magic is produced, so it will be more challenging to figure out. Maybe the MC should send Javier out of the city. He could break the wall, but Selena would meet the same fate as in the novel. The novel mentions a Grand Master much more powerful than a Master Swordsman. Without knowing how to become one, the MC cannot train Javier. Continuing the conversation, the swordsman says they should keep investigating Canaro. Javier reveals that there is another way for them to get in. His master just needs to be patient and trust him. The eroded slopes of Namaran need anchors. These should be buried deep in the ground to stabilize the soil. Since the delivery will take time, Lloyd sends the planning for his project to Cirkdros first. While he waits, he will research a bit more about the local topography. Some people pass by him commenting about a beauty. The MC finds it shameful that they talk about such things out loud. The girl is at a Canaro food stall, and this wasn't in the novel. Getting closer, he wonders if people are only there because of the girl. As he gets closer, he doesn't quite understand what he is seeing. The beauty people were referring to is serving soup, and she looks too muscular for a girl. In fact, the green hair gives a clue about her identity. With a disillusioned look, Lloyd concludes that she must be his bodyguard. Suddenly, she glances at the crowd and notices someone familiar. Javier is shocked that his plans were discovered so quickly. His master starts making gestures symbolizing that he respects the swordsman's personal tastes. In response, Javier also makes symbols to say that he doesn't like dressing as a woman. This is all part of a plan. Then Lloyd shows that he will keep an eye on him and disappears into the crowd. Javier is irritated but needs to continue the act. Suddenly, Canaro appears walking behind him. He discreetly asks someone how the preparations are going, and a worker responds that they were completed the previous night. After hearing this, he leaves quietly. In disguise, Javier is gradually obtaining information. In another part of Namoran, Lloyd is in front of a huge cliff. He climbs a bit and starts analyzing the predicted fault lines. He realizes he has found a skull that was buried there not long ago. He looks around for the rest of the body but finds another skull and another one on the other side, all buried at the same depth. Lloyd starts to unearth the first one. In another place, Canaro is gathered with several people praising their work. According to him, the revolution will happen on the planned date. Back with the MC, the skull he unearthed is emitting a purple light. Someone placed a dark magic spell on it, the same type that initiated the walls of Namaran. Returning to Canaro, he is indeed planning the coming of the Night of Hell. But after finding the skull, the MC does not intend to let these plans come to fruition. He activates his mana absorption ability, purifying the mana. After doing this, the skull becomes white again. Then he picks it up and notices a purple stone fell from it, the real source of the magic. To discover what kind of stone it is, Lloyd uses his research ability. His eyes light up. The stone is so precious that it alone is worth a year of Baron Polian's salary. The other skulls might have the same inside. As soon as he unearths another, he finds another stone and another one. Lloyd starts to smile madly, digging. By the end of the day, he has filled his backpack with 30 precious stones, enough to hire Baron Polian for another 30 years. Satisfied, Lloyd wishes all his days were like this. Returning, he even considers raising Baron Polian's salary. Before leaving, he looks at the skulls. He picks up the first one he found and starts collecting the others to place them in a sunny spot to rest in peace. During the night at the Count of Namaran's mansion, Lloyd is talking to his bodyguard, who tries to explain the reason for dressing as a woman. Lloyd interrupts, saying that he knows everyone is different and understands that the swordsman is unique. Javier remains silent, realizing his master didn't understand. He tries to explain again that he disguised himself because everyone recognizes him, and this way he could gather information. Again, he sees that Lloyd did not understand. The pair remains silent until the MC asks when Javier discovered that he liked this sort of thing. This time, the swordsman loses his patience and shouts that he didn't do it because he likes it. Lloyd sees no reason for him to be upset. Returning to important matters, Javier was sent to Canaro's house while in disguise. In the basement, there was a door that led deeper underground. The first time he saw him, Javier thought he was a good person, but he must be hiding something. Therefore, Javier will try to find physical evidence. The MC agrees and reminds the swordsman that he doesn't need to be ashamed of his hobbies. That same night at Canaro's mansion, he is furious upon learning that all the Nocturnium is gone. A man tells him that both the stones and the bones have disappeared. Some criticized Canaro, saying he claimed the plan was foolproof. Trying to calm them down, Canaro says that not all is lost. The stones were only for security. If they help once more, it will still be possible to bring the Night of Hell. The next day, a bucket full of water appears floating and falls on the muscular beauty's head. Javier, disguised as Javella, tells a concerned woman that he accidentally got wet. She says that Javella can change at Chief Canaro's house, lending one of her dresses. The girl goes to the mansion. In a closet, she becomes Javier again. He uses his mana control to completely hide his presence. He exits through a window and goes to a locked iron door that leads to the second basement. As he looks stealthily at the door, Canaro is standing right in front of it. The dark mage looks around, checking if anyone else is nearby, and uses his mana to unlock the enormous padlock. As soon as he does this, its gears start to move. Hidden, the swordsman thinks that this lock needs a combination of mana to be opened. In another location where the stones Lloyd took are, he is pondering if there are more of them scattered around and if the walls of Namaran could be activated with them. The MC cannot let something like this happen. Therefore, it's time to go after more easy money. Back to Javier's espionage, he observes Canaro leaving the basement and hears the lock closing again. He waits until the mage climbs the stairs and leaves the room. Then, Javier approaches the padlock and tries to replicate what he saw Canaro do earlier. It works, and the padlock opens. The swordsman goes through the door, entering a dark corridor. He notices there is something else there. After descending a few more steps, he realizes there is something strange about that place. there is a small bright spot coming from the end of the corridor. As he gets closer, the spot takes the shape of a person. In fact, the thing looks much more like a zombie. It approaches very quickly and the swordsman barely has time to dodge its punch. Filling his hand with mana, he punches the creature right in the middle of its belly. As strong as Javier is, his attack seems to have had no effect, and the zombie returns the punch. Even using mana to block the zombie's power was strong enough to push the swordsman back. This zombie is completely different from the ones they encountered in the valley. To make matters worse, he is not alone. Several other zombies appear. Javier takes a deep breath. He pulls 2 kitchen knives from his pockets and imbues them with mana. Canaro just confirmed his suspicions that he wasn't such a good person after all. The group of zombies is about to attack, but suddenly he notices someone behind them. A guy who definitely saw Javier quickly hides behind an iron door. At least there's someone for the swordsman to question. The zombies begin their attack. Javier, using the improvised daggers, attacks them with the mastery that only a sword master could have. He continues slashing the zombies one by one, trying to carve a path to the door. Leaving only bits of zombies behind, he gets very close to the door and kicks it, making it fly into the other room, taking the guy behind it with it. The guy falls, appearing just like a weak human. In front of him, Javier looks imposing. Scared, the guy begs the swordsman to spare him. Javier says he has questions. He steps on the guy's leg, making him scream in pain. If he hesitates, the other leg will end up the same way. He wants to know what Canaro is planning. The guy says he doesn't know. He just does what the wizard asks. He was hired as a funeral agent, and the wizard asked him to use a special product for embalming. The swordsman wants to know where the wizard acquired the bodies. According to the funeral agent, they belong to refugees who died of illness. The information stirs some memories in Javier. When he was still undercover, Canaro talked to a refugee saying he would take care of her sick father. He grits his teeth upon realizing the wizard wasn't caring for the sick. Both the skulls that Lloyd found and the zombies must have been refugees. He asks if the funeral agent never found it strange that the bodies kept appearing. To Javier, this guy is as guilty as Canaro, so he steps on his other leg, breaking that one too. Fleeing before he is discovered, the swordsman needs to tell his master what he has found. But when he arrives at the mansion, he cannot find Lloyd. He thinks it's best not to waste time looking, and decides to act alone to finish off Canaro. The people the mage had spoken to before were all at the exchange market, so that must be his base. Javier arrives, smashing a window to enter. As soon as he lands, he prepares for combat and unsheathes his aura sword. But he notices something is wrong. Apparently there is no one else besides him. He walks through the place thinking about what might have happened until he concludes that the mage may have started his plans. Suddenly, a gigantic purple cloud appears high above Namaran. A huge roar takes Javier by surprise. He feels as if all the strength in his body is being sucked away. He goes outside and can see the purple cloud as well as a light that is surrounding the entire city. More roars echo as what appear to be the walls of Namaran rise. Javier's aura sword begins to have its mana drained. Around him, the county's inhabitants fall to the ground, having their mana sucked away. At this point, the swordsman worries as his master must also be in trouble. At the mansion of the Count of Namaran, Selena opens a window to see what is happening. What really scares her is not the catastrophic sky, but the people down there falling to the ground without strength. Even without any idea of what is causing this, she feels that she needs to help them. She holds a jewel on a necklace, thinking that everything will be all right. Outside the walls, we see a dark mage. He is using the tools that Canaro gave him. If he continues like this, the Hell Knight will emerge soon. Suddenly, Lloyd appears right next to the mage. He says he saw 30 people around who looked like him and asks if they are doing some kind of rain dance. The guy is so surprised that he falls silent. Then Lloyd starts asking why he's being ignored. The guy thought the MC was so ugly that he mistook him for the Hell Knight. If he moves, the talking will ruin the magic. Out of the corner of his eye, the guy glances in the direction of the MC, who has his shovel raised ready to test if the guy will really stay still. With all his strength, he slams the shovel into the mage's face, but his shovel is dented after the blow. This happened because Canaro put a protection spell on these mages. The MC tries another attack using mana this time. Now, the dark mage is afraid. After Lloyd's second attack, smoke starts to rise from the shovel, and he finds it strange that even his mana attack didn't have much effect. Even with 2 missing teeth, the mage is celebrating that the barrier is impenetrable. As things are not going as planned, the MC needs to focus. He tries to absorb the mana from the mage's stone, but unlike the stones in the skulls, this one reacts, leaving him unable to do anything. The MC asks if the mage doesn't move because he can't, as it would ruin the spell. The guy remains completely silent. Without an answer, Lloyd will just test his theory. Returning to the city, a man is walking towards the city hall, passing by several fallen people. One of them tries to grab his foot. The weakened man asks Kanaro to help him, but the mage looks at him with disgust, calling people pests, and kicks the poor man's face. Looking around the city hall, there is a very large statue of a fallen angel. Kanaro makes a small cut on his finger and says that this statue will become the portal to the Hell Knight. Returning to the protagonist, the black mage is sweating coldly. The MC is focused on digging a hole. He dug up the entire area around the mage, leaving only a small space to balance on. Lloyd starts to approach the mage, who starts to panic. The MC approaches with his demonic face until he almost touches the mage's face. Then he blows a puff of air, making him break the small portion of land that was holding him up and fall to the ground still motionless. The jewel around his neck shines brightly, and the guy writhes around as if he's being sucked in. Then the stone stops shining and the mage trembles without moving. Lloyd picks up the stone, realizing that if the mage falters, he will be attacked by the spell. With one less mage, the MC looks towards the walls. The purple light that once permeated the entire county starts to flicker. This cheers Lloyd up. He still has a chance. In the city, Kanaro next to the statue realizes that something is wrong. Another hole opens in the wall as soon as Lloyd finishes off another black mage. Even without enough mana and knowing that something is wrong, Kanaro decides to start the invocation. He begins to recite a spell in front of the statue until someone calls out to him. Selena is walking towards him, asking what he is doing. The mage wonders how she can walk without having her mana sucked away until he realizes she is wearing a mana protection amulet. He summons a fireball and throws it towards her. Selena looks at the fireball and raises her hand. Surprisingly, she catches it. From Kanaro's surprised face, he didn't expect that. Then, the girl creates a much larger fireball. Selena calls the spell the punishment of the god of fire and throws it towards Kanaro. The mage summons a protective barrier, surprised that someone so young is at such a high level of magic. Even with the barrier, an explosion happens. Selena is catching her breath after using such a powerful spell. Kanaro is lying at the feet of the statue. The girl approaches, wanting to know what he was planning. The mage continues to recite the spell without answering her. Kanaro stops, reciting the spell, and summons the Hell Knight. Suddenly, the statue begins to crack with a purple glow coming from within. Selena, who understood the Hell Knight part, knows that something very bad is coming. Then the mage lunges towards her, wielding a sword. But from a hole in the middle of the ceiling, Javier emerges. The swordmaster cuts off the mage's attack before he can get close to the girl. Kanaro is completely dumbfounded. While Javier gives him a serious look, the mage's severed arm hasn't even hit the ground yet, and Javier is already prepared for another attack. This time, Kanaro uses a magic barrier to block the attack. Even so, the attack is very powerful and breaks the mage's other arm. Then, the statue starts to glow even more intensely. A powerful lightning bolt strikes the roof, breaking the statue into thousands of pieces and casting a red light over the area. The debris flies towards the people, so Selena invokes a magic to protect them. Using the Earth God's shield, a barrier appears, preventing the debris from injuring those who are already weakened. A little further away, the fight between Javier and Kanaro is not over. The mage says that now it will be the end of the swordsman, calling him a worm. For the mage, those people are worthless scum who deserve to turn to ashes. Behind him, a pair of bright lights looking like eyes appears. A hand emerges from the middle of the smoke, and we see a red sword being dragged. Kanaro looks back in fear. Javier also looks worried. Behind them is the Hell Knight dragging himself and his great sword. The mage wonders in shock where the knight's horse is, and more importantly, his legs. Without enough mana from the walls, he couldn't summon the whole knight. Still not complete, Javier worries if he will be able to defeat him. The knight asks what the desire of his summoner is. The mage says that the swordsman dared to raise his sword against the knight. Knowing this, he prepares to attack. Even without legs, he advances quickly. Javier uses aura and mana to protect himself, but still feels his bones reverberating. The knight's strength breaks the ground around him. He teleports, making it difficult to defend. Suddenly, he appears right behind Javier, who will not be able to defend himself. Then Selena throws a wind dagger, giving Javier an opening to dodge. The knight's sword hits the ground with such force that it breaks the space around it. The knight looks towards the girl, saying that she dared to attack him. She knows that she will be his target now. He really advances towards her. Javier behind him prepares a powerful attack using his aura sword. Before the knight reaches Selena, he is hit by the attack and his head disappears. He is thrown away and remains motionless. Javier looks at his enemy tired after using so much mana. A purple smoke begins to rise from the knight's body, which does not move until it becomes just a pile of ashes. Unconvinced Canaro says that this should be impossible. Then a sword is pointed in his direction. It belongs to Javier, who tells the mage that they were able to defeat him thanks to Selena. Meanwhile, the people behind him are gathering to help the wounded. Javier says that the details will be discussed in the royal palace and he will not be spared from execution. For some reason, the mage starts to smile strangely. Canaro says that Javier is an ignorant who does not know what a being from hell is like. The swordsman knows that something is wrong and looks back towards the knight. What were once just ashes is taking shape again. An expression of panic takes over Javier. The Hell Knight's body is complete once more. Canaro laughs and celebrates, saying that no matter how many times he is cut down, the knight will rise again. The knight apologizes to Javier for thinking he was too weak. He grabs his sword and introduces himself as Galexis, commander of the First Corps who served the Master of Hell. Javier also introduces himself and says he will send him back to Hell. The two set off to clash. The swordsman attacks with his aura sword, but the knight disappears and reappears well above him. Using a dagger charged with mana, he struggles to hold off the attack. The knight comments that he is finding the fight surprisingly fun, while Javier struggles just to hold off the attacks. The impact destroys another part of the ground. Javier emerges from the dust, trying to distance himself, but it's impossible. All Javier can do is try not to get hit. He is exhausted just by dodging and needs to find an opening. He throws his mana-infused dagger at the knight, who catches it without difficulty. Javier takes advantage of the opening to attack from bottom to top, but his opponent disappears again. He tries to guess where he will appear next and attacks. He sees a part of the knight's sword emerging from the ground and attacks, but the knight manages to deflect it. Already expecting this, Javier attacks again. This time, the knight won't have time to react and his head is hit. The knight grabs the swordmaster's leg. He knows his opponent is trying to throw him and needs to reinforce his body with mana. The mana he absorbed from the knight is disrupting his mana flow, preventing him from reinforcing his body, and he ends up knocked down. Javier feels a terrible pain. The knight lifts him up again just to throw him back to the ground with even more force. His opponent confesses that it was a pleasure to fight with him and that he will remember his name. The knight raises his sword, about to finish Javier off, saying they will meet again in hell. Suddenly, a voice yells at the knight, causing him to miss. The knight turns to see who the stranger is. Lloyd is holding the shovel to Canaro's neck and says that as far as he knows, if the summoner dies, he will go back to hell. He gives him 3 seconds to get away from Javier before he cuts the mage's head off. The knight thinks that there is something wrong with this human. His expression is terribly frightening. The knight asks if Lloyd is also a being from hell, as his expressions are like those of a being from that place. The MC just shows that his count is over. To protect his summoner, the knight casts a spell in their direction. The spell causes an explosion, and Lloyd retreats. The one who had no way to escape was Canaro, who lost the remaining piece of his arm. The knight explains that even if his summoner dies, he will still have 40 minutes before being sent back. As his plan failed, Lloyd will have to think of something else. Suddenly, we see Javier refreshed, ready to attack. But before he could, the knight rises and repels the attack, throwing the swordsman away. Knowing that his bodyguard is still not well, the MC invites Galexis to fight with him and orders Javier to rest. Lloyd keeps calling the knight, who paid him no attention. Almost losing consciousness, Javier thinks that with his master there, they can win. Ignoring his opponent, he throws a fireball at the knight. Unfortunately, it is repelled with just his hand. Focused on the fight that matters, the knight is about to attack the swordmaster again. Javier is almost out of strength. Then Lloyd appears, throwing himself in the direction of the knight, trying to prevent the attack. The MC grabs onto Galexis' back. The knight warns him that his mana will touch his heart and kill him. Lloyd is not scared, and warns that he has purified a good amount of dark mana recently. Galexis, scared, asks what kind of creature this is. Lloyd absorbs his mana while he talks and activates his human lock mode, attaching himself to the knight. Galexis tries to remove the pest, but with macabre agility, the MC manages to dodge him. The knight headbutts him back and this time hits his mark. Lloyd falls back, but doesn't let go and grabs his opponent's legs. Desperate, the knight raises his sword, trying to hit the MC from below, which doesn't work. Lloyd appears again, stuck to Galexis' neck. No matter how much he shakes, Lloyd just laughs and doesn't let go. When he's tired of trying, the MC draws his attention to something. In the meantime, he has completely forgotten about Javier, who is ready to attack. Surprised that his opponent has recovered so quickly, as soon as he thinks about blocking, Lloyd grabs his arms. With that chance, Javier attacks, opening a gash in the middle of the knight's chest. Galexis roars with anger. This time the knight is faster and manages to disappear, reappearing from above behind Javier. The swordsman was already expecting this and attacks again. Unfortunately, Galexis disappears again, annoyed by the pest that won't come off him. He doesn't understand how Lloyd could stay there even with him teleporting. The conversation gives Javier a chance to launch a new attack. The MC realizes that the swordsman is moving faster than before, but it's still not enough. In addition, he won't be able to purify the mana for long. He needs to think of something fast. Then a system message appears, surprising Lloyd about being able to help him once. According to the system message, he can win if he sings. With no better option, that's what the MC starts to do. His horrible voice makes the knight feel like he has a fingernail scratching his brain. As Lloyd continues, Galexis realizes that it's just a song, not a spell, but the MC's horrible voice sends the knight into a spiral of despair. He starts to spin around, focused only on the horrible noise. Lloyd realizes that the tactic is working and calls Javier to attack. The problem is that this sonic attack didn't just hit the knight. The swordmaster is also suffering. The MC remembers his parents telling him as a child never to sing. In a test, the music teacher even threw an organ at him. In the army, a priest thought a demon had appeared and threw holy water at him. At least his lack of tuning served for this moment. At this point, the knight is already calling Lloyd a demon. Desperate, Javier uses his mana to cover his hearing before he goes crazy. While the MC rolls in the air with the knight without stopping his singing for a moment, Lloyd manages to knock the knight to the ground. The swordsman prepares to attack with his aura sword. Finally, the MC detaches from the knight who has fallen. Then it's Javier's turn to hit him in the middle of the chest and use the aura blast to finish off his enemy. With the attack, an explosion of light hits Galexis. A large area around them is destroyed. Lloyd barely manages to get away. The knight's body disappears, but Javier remains kneeling, breathless. The MC approaches him, saying that they won, but according to the swordsman, it's not over yet. Analyzing the mana more carefully, the MC realizes that his bodyguard was right. A purple smoke appears, taking the form of the knight. Javier advises his master to stay behind him, but Lloyd says without concern that Galexis will not rise again. The swordsman doesn't believe it. Even so, the MC asks if he doesn't want to bet, as he is sure the knight is dead. Lloyd picks up his shovel and bets that if the knight returns, he will call Javier Master for a year. Otherwise, the swordsman will have to dress up as Javella on the way home. The MC raises his shovel and fires a triple mana explosion combo, which opens a hole in the city hall ceiling. Almost out of mana, he kneels as the Hell Knight continues to take shape. Then Lloyd uses overload and starts to suck mana. Javier is surprised to realize that his master is sucking the mana from the knight, who begins to disintegrate. Galexis claims that the MC will not be able to absorb his mana. Indeed, Lloyd is not able to absorb it. There is too much mana and it is too strong. At this point, Lloyd is using his last strength. Then Javier and Selena's hands touch his back. They help him purify the mana. To increase the effectiveness, Selena uses the Life Blessing spell to heal the protagonist. The knight gives his last enraged screams as he disappears. Lloyd stands with his clenched fist glowing, finishing the absorption. Soon after, the light diminishes and he says that he has finished the soul domination. As soon as he finishes saying that, his strength runs out and he falls to the ground completely exhausted. The girl gets worried, but Javier explains that her master usually ends battles this way. Looking at him, Selena can't help but worry. The system reports that Lloyd defeated Galexis, which surprised the King of Hell, who now wants to meet him. A few days after all this, Canaro was arrested and transported to the capital. At this point, Lloyd has a big problem. He can't continue with the construction due to the walls. None of the workers have enough energy. He needs to find a way to make money. As soon as Lloyd woke up, the system showed that he had received a new skill. His zombie domination skill evolved. If the MC can dispose of zombies, he will no longer need to pay for workers. He also received the title of the Possessed Tenor. What he needs to know now is how to get zombies. For now, the only thing he finds incredible is the power of hell that makes his eye shine. The MC's poses in the mirror are interrupted by a knock on the door. In front of him, there are several headless skeletons surrounded by a purple glow. One of the skeletons starts making noises, and a gelatinous head starts to form, saying that they are. The scene is disgusting even for Lloyd. He explains that they are the ghosts of those who lost their bodies to the hellish enchantment. They felt the power of hell and came looking for him. The MC is surprised to know that they are happy to feel that he has calmed their souls. All those skulls that he had buried respectfully must have belonged to these skeletons. They have no memory of their life and would probably wander until they were exorcised. They all kneel asking Lloyd to keep them and let them repay his kindness. The MC asks if they need to be paid or fed. They don't have a digestive system. As for a place to stay, all they need is a large coffin. Lloyd thinks quickly about this new workforce. From that day on, they will be part of the Frontera Skeleton Squad. Finally, the MC has gotten the free labor he always dreamed of. Javier wakes up to his master's macabre laughter, and the first thing he sees is dozens of skeletons celebrating. Since it was something his master provoked, he shouldn't have to worry about it, so it's best to just go back to sleep. The skeletons continue to work without ever getting tired sleeping or eating, and especially without receiving salaries. When the Count of Namaran went to see the construction, he fainted because of the skeletons. The MC explained that he is a summoning genius. The Count thinks about it and ends up apologizing for thinking that Lloyd would not have that ability. In winter, the anchors arrived and the cliff stabilization project reached its final stage. Sitting on a cliff, Javier remembers when his hand touched Selena's. The moment the two of them tried to help his master, it's like he felt something different. Then a familiar voice calls out to him. Selena is right in front of him. The swordsman comments on the construction, but she reveals that she is there to see him. She says that she can improve her magic skills, and maybe he could help since he controls mana so well. Javier would be more than happy to help. The girl is happy and a little flushed that he accepted. From afar, Lloyd watches the two talking. This moment triggers some memories of the novel. In the story, the price for defeating the Hell Knight was Selena's life. People stopped asking for Javier's help, thinking that he brought death to those close to him. He was destined to live in loneliness. Fortunately, in this reality, Javier is smiling, living happily, and seeing that makes the MC happy too. Sometime after that, the construction was finished. The troop of skeletons is packing up. Lloyd thanks the Count for paying the construction costs and even a little more. The Count doesn't think the amount is enough as he saved the county. The villagers celebrate. The MC listens with satisfaction, knowing that with this amount, he will finally be able to relax in peace. The Count asks one last time if Lloyd would not consider marrying Selena and becoming his heir. But according to the MC, who wants to live a quiet life, the Count already has a great heiress who will soon be the greatest mage on the continent. Finally, they say goodbye. Before going, Javier takes one last look at Selena, who was also looking at him. Then Lloyd calls for his bodyguard, saying that it is better for him to stay in Namaran, where he would receive better treatment and rise through the ranks faster. Javier questions whether some of the dark mana has entered his master's brain and says he will remain a Frontera knight until the end. The MC asks what he would do if it was an order. And in that case, the swordsman would disobey it and have to be executed. So there's no way to go against his stubbornness, and the only option left is for them to return to the county together. In the snow-covered Frontera County, Lloyd's parents come out of the mansion to greet their son, and are met with something different. This time, their son has returned accompanied by a troop of zombie skeletons. The MC tries to explain about the skeletons, but this is not his father's main concern. What really shocked the Count of Frontera was to see Javier dressed as Javella. The swordsman is sorry for agreeing to that bet without thinking. Lloyd bet him that if the knight didn't return, he would have to dress up as Javella when they got back. The Count slowly approaches Javier and hugs him, saying that he must have suffered a lot to keep this secret for so long. The swordsman tries to explain that it's not what it looks like, but the Count says it's okay. He's just a little different. Embarrassed, he tries to say that it's not quite like that while Lloyd is crying with laughter at his friend's situation. The MC is happy to finally be home. Now he can spend his days relaxing with his fortune. From now on, he can finally live a life without having to do anything else. The poor protagonist barely has time to finish this thought and is surprised by the Queen's messengers. The messenger says that by royal decree, Lloyd has been selected to join a special delegation to Azrahan. The protagonist is completely shocked. The messenger explains that he must leave soon. For sure, the MC is not at all eager to leave again. That's why the royal guards grab him by the arms, forcing him to leave. The royal carriage follows the road, and inside it, Lloyd couldn't be more discouraged. He's trembling, and at least Javier is with him. The swordsman comforts the master, saying that he looks extremely ugly when he does that. There are 2 other men with them. The leader of the delegation, Count Venturas, does not understand the MC's frustration. After all, they are on a mission given by the Queen. Pouring his hatred of the Queen into his thoughts, Lloyd says he is crying with emotion, but Venturas remains irritated. He remembers asking the Queen why she selected the MC. Maybe it was to represent the refugees from the monster Domino, or because he had a diplomatic profile. Alicia Termina thinks about Lloyd being suitable as a diplomat, but that had nothing to do with her decision. She assured him that when Lloyd was summoned, he would cry, saying that it would ruin his plans for a peaceful life. The report on Namaron said that the soldiers defeated the knight, and Lloyd only helped by giving information a lie. The MC must have asked to have his and Javier's names removed from the records. Lloyd is not the type to seek fame or glory. That's why the Queen thinks he'll do something no matter what, being a greedy man who holds grudges is unscrupulous and materialistic. The words leave Count Venturas wondering if she was praising or insulting him. The Queen also predicted that one day he would stop crying and discover something he could get from Azrahan. In the carriage, our protagonist still couldn't stop crying. Count Venturas surely didn't like him, thinking he was a materialistic pig who didn't know honor. The delegation's carriages are arriving in Azrahan. At the palace, a messenger informs the Sultan that the Magenta delegation is approaching, and the Sultan asks them to be given a proper reception. In the palace of the Sultan of Azrahan, Count Venturas is outraged by the accommodations. According to a servant, there was no mistake. They are just following the orders of Sultan Saran. Venturas demands to see the Sultan, but the servant explains that Saran is very busy and it will be difficult. They must wait at least 6 months. The delay infuriates Venturas. Suddenly, the servant shows the Count a pendant. It's a peja. As long as he has it, he will have all the kindness the Sultan has to offer. To the Count, it just seems like they are offering alms to beggars. The servant claims that receiving the peja is an honor, however he throws it on the floor. The servants leave, asking the guests to make themselves at home. Venturas is enraged. For him, this treatment is practically a declaration of war. He wants the messenger to communicate with Magenta and ask for a larger delegation. The Count hears from the messenger that Lloyd has disappeared and doesn't care. Another thing that disappeared was the peja. During the night, a poor girl is selling torches on the street. A man passes by her. Without having sold any, she looks for an alley to sleep in until a man appears asking if she needs a place to sleep. Lloyd says he will help her. Then we see a mansion all lit up. They are in front of the most expensive hotel in the capital. The MC explains to her that he bought this hotel. All she has to do now is sign the deed and the place will be hers. He has all this because he fell into the good graces of the great Saran. With the peja, Lloyd goes to the most expensive restaurants, orders the best dishes, and even pays everyone's bill. Holding the peja, the MC says that the great Saran is blessing all of them. In a fabric store, he chooses all the finest silks, excluding 2. He will take all the ones the store has. At the port, he says he wants the sailboats for himself. He buys everything from the finest perfumes to the best spices. Then he puts everything on the sailboats and sends them to Frontera County. Knowing that Lloyd is buying luxury goods, a crowd of vendors goes to him. The MC declares that Saran's grace will spread throughout the world. Then several soldiers appear looking for him. The 2 are tied up and taken back to the palace, where they come face to face with the great Sultan, who is not at all happy that Lloyd has spent the equivalent of a year's palace budget. With his head bowed, the MC introduces himself, greeting the great and almighty Sultan Saran. Saran is shocked to meet the man who reversed the monster Domino. The protagonist continues to be threatened by a sword. Saran is not happy with this encounter. With his head lowered, Lloyd knows he needs to avoid a war. If that were to happen, the Frontera County would become a battlefield. The Sultan acknowledges that the first one he would encounter in a war is the MC. Even with all the military strength of Azrahan, the fall of the Frontera territory is not guaranteed. Perhaps he should end Lloyd now. But looking at the situation, there is someone very powerful in that place, and even if they defeated Javier, all of Azrahan could turn to ashes. Smiling, the MC knows the Sultan must think carefully. Perhaps the great leader should try talking. Not knowing what they plan, Sauron feels blackmailed. Even trembling with anger, he takes a deep breath and orders the guards to release his guests. With this, Lloyd feels he has won the first round. Then the Sultan asks if he enjoyed the Peja. The MC raises his arms to make a deep bow, wishing a long life to the great Sultan. This time, instead of being angry, Sauron is astonished by the honesty. Indeed, Lloyd did not lie. He is immensely grateful. It's as if the CEO of a company had given him a corporate card. The leader inquires if he isn't worried about what his country might think after bowing to an enemy nation. The MC responds without hesitation that he doesn't care, shocking the Sultan once more. Then Lloyd explains that the amount he spent is just a little less than what he received from the Queen. Incredibly irritated, Sauron asks if he would be willing to betray the Queen if he paid more. Receiving a positive response, the leader of Azrahan doesn't know what to think anymore. Sauron takes a long look at the two. The sound of his laughter echoes. He asks why Lloyd did all this. Wishing to have him by his side, the protagonist feels he has won another round, and asks if the great leader desires war. Sauron responds that he desires it if necessary. The MC says that must be why he turns his attention to a foreign enemy instead of dealing with the drought. The great leader did not expect outsiders to know about this. Lloyd proposes to end the drought in exchange for the Sultan seeing the Magenta delegation. The leader thinks for a moment and asks him to continue, which means our protagonist won the third round. After that, he laughs while talking to Javier about the Sultan's face when he signed the contract. He hears from the swordsman that he tricked the Sultan with the high price, but that expense is nothing compared to a war. The drought in Azrahan and the lack of help from Sauron caused the provinces to form a rebellion. As the events of this world changed compared to the novel, if a war begins before the rebellion, the damage would be enormous. After night falls, the Sultan receives a visit from a girl. We hear her call him father. He has a mission for his dear daughter Shahrazad to be Lloyd's bodyguard during his trip to Kandahar and make him hers, using any means necessary. The girl makes a small bow and agrees. The next morning, Shahrazad introduces herself to the MC, saying she is the bodyguard assigned to him. He explains that he already has Javier, but the girl pretends not to hear and says she is eager to serve him. In his thoughts, the MC concludes that she is stubborn and might be there to observe them. Thinking a bit, her name sounds familiar. Then Lloyd remembers that she is the princess, but why would a princess escort him? She starts making some strange movements, striking a pose. Shahrazad says again that she is there to serve him, leaving the MC astonished by the sudden suggestive pose. Despite her look seeming like she wants to tear him to pieces, he finally understands what she intends. Shahrazad is trying to seduce him. This plan could only have come from one person, the Sultan, as if Lloyd hadn't had enough marriage proposals already. The key to overcoming the drought is a qanat, a type of water transportation system used by the Persian Empire. With the scorching desert heat, any water flow evaporates quickly, so the route has to be underground. The mountain ranges miles from the city are covered in snow all year round, and they will take advantage of that. Our group arrives at the capital of Kandahar. Lloyd is relieved to finally have a break. At least, that's what he wished. But looking to the side, it seems that won't be possible. Shahrazad's strange insinuations continue, and her eyes make the MC think she would try to dismember him when he sleeps. Knowing he won't be able to relax, he sits on the bed asking to talk with the girl, but first for her to stay in a natural position. She tries to convince him that she is naturally like that. Shahrazad is the youngest of the Sultan's 4 daughters, and the most beloved, a very skilled swordswoman. The identity of the princesses is kept secret, and the MC will continue pretending he doesn't know who she is. Lloyd inquires if she doesn't need to rest, but she says she has to stay by his side day and night. He insists that he doesn't need protection. Shahrazad seems not to understand, so he points to Javier, explaining again that he already has a bodyguard who is a high-level swordmaster more powerful than 10, or rather more than 50 people of Shahrazad's level. So he doesn't need her. Hearing this leaves the girl completely enraged, so much so that she even draws her sword. Lloyd pretends to be scared and starts mocking her by showing his neck. By Javier's face, this is another moment when he finds his master pathetic. He continues mocking the girl, saying she will never be a sword master. Then she can't take the jokes anymore and punches the MC. Lloyd starts screaming for Javier while being punched multiple times. Unfortunately, the swordsman is too busy laughing at seeing his master get beaten. Scheherazade, holding back tears, stops hitting him and leaves the room. Even with his face swollen, Lloyd celebrates that his plan worked. Javier finds it strange that his master has such a fetish. The MC tries to explain that he should have been protected. The swordsman apologizes without any remorse, thinking his master deserved that. But he is curious about the provocation. The MC needed her to abandon the mission. A talented swordswoman like her shouldn't waste time on a guy. Still upset, Scheherazade keeps training alone. The next morning, the girl appears inquiring where the two are going. Lloyd explains they are going to the construction site and that she would delay them. Still, she insists on going, but the MC says it won't be as easy as she imagines since she is not a swordmaster. Scheherazade gets irritated again and tries to punch him. Before she can, he starts talking about technical engineering terms. The girl stops thinking he might be reciting some kind of spell. The MC continues to talk with diabolical seriousness. She starts to feel sleepy, thinking she really fell under a spell. Lloyd gets an even more menacing look and doesn't stop talking until the girl finally succumbs and curls up on the floor asleep. Javier, who was supposed to take her to rest, also fell asleep. After waking up the swordsman, the two walk through the city and are surrounded by the residents' gazes, who all seem tattered. They comment on the suspicious looks as they came from the capital, which was not caring about their situation. They will need the help of these people. Smiling Lloyd doesn't think it will be hard to get their cooperation. He shouts in the middle of the crowd, and immediately all his pets appear ready to work. First, Lloyd asks Javier Podong to build an inlet tank in the city center, while he sets off with Goming and Hamster to the snowy mountains. The bird drops Hamster in the snow-covered mountains, and the yellow hippo sucks up a large amount of snow. Goming struggles to carry the heavy companion back. Down below, the other pets have finished building the tank. Then Hamster starts dumping the melted snow, filling the new reservoir with clean water. People look at it in amazement. They will finally have water. As they start to draw the precious liquid, Lloyd appears, saying they must all be incredibly happy, and all thanks to him. So they can be grateful. He says confidently that he is the one responsible. Everyone should remember the name Lloyd Frontera. Then the people stone him, saying he gave them a little water just to exploit them more. He dodges the stones, laughing. He thinks that the people's complaints will not be easily resolved. Taking a look around, he realizes that many people are too proud to take the water, but he will keep insisting. The next day, the villagers noticed that the well is full again, and once again our protagonist appears claiming to be the one responsible. Even being stoned again, he won't stop. During the beautiful full moon night in Kandahar, a family is having dinner. The couple's daughter is incredibly happy because she can now drink all the water she wants. But for some reason, her parents are terrified. The reason is Lloyd standing outside their window with a serious face. He points to the water the family is drinking and then points to himself, reaffirming that he is the one responsible. What he achieves with this is traumatizing a family. In the following days, he continues to do this, trying to instill in people's minds that when they think of water, they will immediately remember him. Walking again through the city, he meets the same resident as before. The guy removes the scarf he uses to protect himself from the sun, revealing a beautiful black man. Knowing he has won another person to his side, the MC gives his strange smile, and the guy returns another strange smile. From atop the well's tent, Lloyd shouts, "Water to the people," and in return, they imitate the strange face he always makes. To make sure people understand, he shouts again, and once again, everyone responds with a strange smile, saying his name. Javier asks if the master has not hypnotized those people, but according to him, this is the result of his marketing. If water is good and he is synonymous with water, then he is also something good. Momentarily, Lloyd feels depressed, but the foundations for what he plans are ready. The MC sets up a table near the well, inviting people to work on the construction of the underground waterway. One of the candidates asks if meals are included. According to the MC, mountains of food from all over the country will come. In the capital of Azrahan, Saran receives more bills from Lloyd made with the Peja. The new enormous list of expenses makes the Sultan boil with rage. Back in Kandahar, Lloyd is flying with Javier on Goming. The MC is searching for something with his ability, but since he can't find it, it must be more than 15 feet deep. Even if he hires the necessary people, it will take too long to dig a 22-meter waterway. What he needed now were the underground tunnels made by the rebels. Returning to the city, Lloyd thinks there is only one way to find this tunnel. Night falls, and at the place where they are staying, Scheherazade is asking Javier to leave. The swordsman stands in front of the door and does not move. Even when she says there are rebels in the area, it's too dangerous to leave the MC alone. Javier agrees that she is right, but as his master said he would be fine, he will believe it. The girl says the guard should be by the master's side to avoid unexpected dangers, but the swordsman says it's not quite like that, for his master is always right. Now we see the room where Lloyd was is empty. He must have been kidnapped. Scheherazade considers Javier too stubborn, so she moves quickly, trying to pass by him using brute force. But the swordmaster easily stops her attack, praising her skills. Obviously, she is not happy at all for not being able to attack him. So she attacks again several times, and he defends each one. While preventing Scheherazade's attacks, Javier gives several tips on how to become a swordmaster to her, who does not think she needs his training. The swordsman is doing this because it was a request from his master. As soon as she knows this, she wonders why Lloyd would do that. In another part of the city, the MC is surrounded by kidnappers who want to know what kind of scheme he is planning. Since he has a sack on his head, it's impossible to understand anything he tries to say. Then the guy who seems to be the leader makes a gesture and the sack on Lloyd's head is removed. Something catches the leader's attention. The protagonist has a serious look. A strange sensation takes over the leader. Although they are the kidnappers, the MC's diabolical face makes it seem like they are the ones who have been kidnapped. Lloyd says that to reveal what he is planning, he will need to explain how he got there. But first he would like to be untied, claiming to be a weak person who wouldn't be able to escape. Noticing the MC's calm demeanor, their leader Tobs asks if Lloyd was already expecting them. As someone sent by the Sultan, he had anticipated the rebels would do something. With the knowledge from the novel, Lloyd also knows that Tobs, the rebel leader, dies leading the revolt. His death causes all the provinces of Azrahan to unite and start the Great Rebellion. Tobs examines the young man. It really doesn't seem like the MC is someone capable of escaping, so he orders the prisoner to be untied despite his companion's disagreement. As he is freed, the MC praises his captor's kindness. In his thoughts, Tobs feels indebted to him. He remembers his son Bedouin, very weak, apologizing for being so frail, while Tobs cried, regretting giving all the water to others and not to his son. The shout of people saying there was water caught his attention. Shortly after we see the boy drinking the water his father fetched. Back to the present, Lloyd's bonds are on the ground. The leader warns that even though they are letting him go, the MC shouldn't try to escape. At that moment, he has that devilish look on his face again. This makes the rebels want to attack him, but instead, our protagonist strikes a poetic pose. He begins to explain that 2.5 years ago, the county of Frontera was on the verge of ruin. The rebels remained still as he recounts that it was a dark time, but he didn't give up and started by building heated floors. Then they fought against giant ants. Then he and Javier went to Cremo, where there was a giant lobster. Excited, the MC explains the size of the lobster's head. The rebels are surprised to learn about his feats. He continues telling about Javier's incredible battles. At this point, the rebels are already eating popcorn. The leader realizes something with these stories, wanting to know where the MC is going with them. But Lloyd explains that he hasn't reached the good part yet. The leader gets irritated because even his companions didn't like him interrupting. The MC continues telling how they were attacked by locusts the size of dogs. The night passes as he continues to talk about everything he went through. Until the sun begins to rise in Kandahar, Goming, as lifeless as always is, carrying his master and Tobs. The leader is in a panic, not knowing where they are going. Lloyd explains they will see the queen. Tobs really remembers talking about this. The MC assures him that all companions and family members will be sheltered in Magenta. Then they spot the royal palace where Canaro is being restrained. He begins to tell the queen something about Tarha having said something to the dark wizards, but he has a coughing fit. The queen determines that he has said enough, thinking she needs to find this Tarha. As she is returning, a messenger says that Lloyd is waiting for an audience. She is a bit puzzled because the MC was supposed to be in Azrahan. Then before her, he and Tobs kneel asking for asylum for the rebels. Without much thought, the queen grants it. Lloyd thanks her while the rebel leader is surprised by how easy it all was. He can hardly believe it. Even though things didn't go as she expected, the queen is happy. Thanking him for the compliments, she begins to talk about an old saying, "Skilled men must work until there is nothing left of them." Her words leave our skilled man extremely worried. Changing the subject, she says that Kanaro's interrogation has progressed and she will need his help soon. With a bitter face, he says he will gladly help. Then Alicia approaches, inquiring if he missed her as she wanted him to come back. Her question makes Lloyd start to sweat. She asserts that he is not a selfish person who comes to her only when he needs something. Who would have thought that the greatest enemy to our protagonist's peaceful life would be the very leader of the nation, Queen Alicia? Back in the kingdom of Azrahan, Javier continues to block the door to his master's room. He struggles to stay awake just like Shahrazad, but she falls asleep. A little later, she wakes up wanting to resume the fight. She strikes Javier several times, who continues to block with ease. He wonders how much longer his master will take. Suddenly, Shahrazad's new strike is different. She is using aura. He needs to partially unsheath his sword to defend. Even though still a bit unstable, the girl is on the verge of becoming a sword master. She tries to attack once more. Right at this moment, Lloyd opens the door, pinning Javier behind it. Since Shahrazad didn't stop her attack, she almost hit the swordsman. The sword pierced the door and touched the MC's shoulder. Just the impact made his clothes tear, and the pets are left hanging from what remains. On the other side, Lloyd is paralyzed almost without clothes. Javier is furious that someone could have died. The princess doesn't recognize the MC until she looks closely. She wants to know where he was, but he raises his hand and starts talking about engineering theories again. The psychic attack quickly takes effect, and she falls asleep peacefully on the floor. Then he turns to Javier, calling him to start the construction, but the swordsman was also affected and fell asleep. Wasting no time, the MC starts his plan by mapping the underground tunnels. They check which tunnels they will drill or close. The third step is to close the tunnels for use during the day and open holes at night. Then, for the final stage, several hooded figures appear. Lloyd celebrates that these people arrived just in time. Torrams asks who they are. They are workers from the county of Frontera, the group of skeletons. He explains that a gigantic amount of water is behind a wall. He asks what will happen if they dig. The skeletons know they will be swept away. Since ancient times, people have risked their lives to make a qanat. Usually, the oldest worker was chosen to deliver the final blow. This time, Lloyd decides that the one who will have the honor is Torrams, who is brought by the skeletons. Torrams is sweating, not at all willing. Lloyd doesn't ask and runs off, saying he will never be forgotten. So Torrams chases after him, wanting to be swapped with a skeleton. He is completely desperate and considers that Javier could do it and survive, but Javier has only one change of clothes and can't get them wet. Even to the system, he is more demonic than the devil. Speaking of the devil, the guy seems totally swamped with work. It seems he has just been informed by his messengers. Hekaros, the king of hell, wants to see how Lloyd will finish. Back in the scorching desert of Azrahan, after some discussions, the leader of the skeleton's turtleneck volunteered to deliver the final blow, which didn't make his master very happy. As soon as he strikes the wall, the water begins to gush through the tunnels, carrying him along. It flows into several pipes that will direct this precious resource to the people. People celebrate that they will no longer go thirsty. Then we see a child carrying a water pot. He goes to Lloyd and offers him the water. Our protagonist thanks the boy. Then the child takes the opportunity to ask something that made him curious. Why does this man keep walking around almost without clothes? Lloyd gives a gentle smile and replies that buying clothes is a waste of money. After opening the central waterway in Kandahar, several other villages were connected to it. Almost at the end of the project, the system gives him the title of top-ranking person who only wears underwear. The title grants him 100% resistance to dehydration, which doesn't seem very useful now that he plans to relax. Suddenly, Torrams appears. Lloyd asks if he's ready for the long journey to Magenta. Then the leader of the rebels kneels before him, leaving our protagonist bewildered. Torrams says that the MC saved countless people, stopped the drought, the war, and even found refuge for them. Therefore, all the people present will be eternally loyal to Frontera. As he was only pursuing his own interests, Lloyd is a bit embarrassed. He is delighted that his approval with the rebels has risen. That night, the skeleton squad guided Torrams and his companions to Frontera County. Just when everything seemed to be going well in the capital of Azrahan, the Sultan asked Lloyd to continue by his side. Kneeling, our protagonist apologizes and reveals that he prefers someone with a smaller physique. Then the Sultan, knowing that the MC has realized that Scheherazade is his daughter, asks if she doesn't please him. But he replies that the princess's feelings are much more important, making the Sultan remember that his daughter utterly despises this man. Saran sets aside this matter. Since Lloyd has kept his word now, it's his turn to finally meet with the delegation from Magenta. The MC thanks him for fulfilling his promise. As the two are leaving, Saran gets a demonic look, thinking that as a ruler he will always get what he wants. Somehow he still plans to take the protagonist for himself. With a brief look back, Lloyd seems to have understood these thoughts. Moving on, the Sultan is sitting with the delegation. Count Venturas is thinking that it was thanks to the MC that they managed to have this meeting, so they cannot lose this opportunity. First, the Sultan apologizes for the suffering caused to Magenta due to his mistakes. The apology surprised the nobles. Saran promises to pay for the damages from the monster Domino and will take measures to ensure it doesn't happen again. Count Venturas knows that all this goodwill will come at a price. He thanks the Sultan, undertaking to convey what he said to the Queen. But Saran interrupts to say that he wants something in return. He wants nothing less than Lloyd Frontera. After the meeting, Lloyd wants to know how Venturas responded. The Count is cornered until he reveals that he agreed, causing an incredibly happy expression on the MC. To lighten the mood, the Count says that someone talented like him will be useful anywhere, and the Queen will be pleased. Our protagonist smiles and says the Count did the right thing. The poor man doesn't understand anymore. Lloyd says that what just happened is perfect. In the throne room, Saran is trying to decide what he will ask his new servant to do. Then a messenger appears saying he couldn't bring the MC because he decided he would get rid of the sandworm that is outside the city. The sandworm looks like a scary monster. The MC points his shovel in its direction and uses his mana blast. After that, his pets turn to attack, kicking the little creature and then trying to hit it with its paws. Lastly, it's Javier's turn. He takes his sword of bright aura and delivers a powerful attack. Incredibly, even after all these attacks, the worm continues to move, so Lloyd attacks it with Mana Blast again. At that moment, the Sultan arrives and sees the MC using Mana Blast continuously. The protagonist is screaming demonically that he will destroy the worm in the name of Saran, who stands watching all that madness. Only at this moment, Lloyd realizes he is being watched and signals positively to him. The Sultan no longer wants this unstable person in his kingdom. After these events, night falls. In his office, the Sultan thinks he made the right decision. With the MC by his side, you never know what he could do. He still has to pay for the expenses incurred with the Paja and the construction costs. It's as if he's been robbed. Then a guard appears, saying Lloyd has just escaped with the Paja. This time, the Sultan is speechless. He's going bankrupt. As if that weren't enough, a messenger appears with urgent news. Princess Scheherazade has fled and left a message saying she had much to learn from him. The Sultan doesn't know what to say and collapses onto his desk, crying and cursing Lloyd. A little while later in Frontera County, Lloyd's parents wake up on a quiet morning with the sounds of padong instead of a rooster. A servant announces that a letter from Master Javier has just arrived. He tells them he graduated as the second best in his class and will be able to work in the capital. Then Baron Polion appears, saying a shipment from Lloyd has just arrived. Outside there are piles of filled chests. As soon as one is opened, the Countess is impressed that they are all luxury items. She holds an ugly necklace of precious jewels, planning to sell them to vain nobles. The Count is glad that his county is full of wonderful people just like the wonderful orcs who greet him. Only one of them doesn't seem very friendly. It seems he and Soldier Pang still don't get along. The two collide and the couple is apprehensive, thinking they are about to start a fight. Then Pang acts as if the orc wants his attention. Instead, the two stand facing each other. The orc moves quickly, but Pang manages to dodge. The creature stood still in a strange dance position. He challenges the soldier, who along with his companions acts as if they had no choice, and they all choreograph together. Then the orcs come together to make a better dance. It seems this time Pang didn't come out on top. The couple encounters the skeletons on the way. Would they be organic or inorganic? It doesn't matter. What matters is that the county is at peace, even though some strange things happen there, like when they see the white cavalry praying to Lloyd's statue. The strangeness only increases when Torrams and his companions arrive and also pray. Finally, someone informs the couple that their son has just returned. Seeing their son dressed that way, practically only in a tunic and underwear, makes them think that the strangest person in that place is surely their son. The Count hugs his son and asks why he isn't wearing clothes. He replies that he already has many at home. Meanwhile, in the royal palace, Count Venturus is reporting on the agreement. Such an agreement seems unprecedented to the Queen. Venturus is a little embarrassed, but admits he's responsible. The Queen wants to know if it was Lloyd who asked him to tell her this, and asks what the Count thinks is necessary for people to live comfortably. She herself answers that they only need someone to work themselves to death in their place. Count Venturus fully agrees. Although this agreement resolves many things, Magenta and Asrahan have been enemies for a long time. How could they establish a relationship of trust? While the Queen thinks about this, Scheherazade has just arrived in the county thinking about how she will take this state from him. The Count is pruning the garden and is surprised when someone appears. He has no idea who the girl is. Scheherazade introduces herself and the Count wants to know why she is there. She is there to see Lloyd. The Count doesn't understand what she wants with his son. She takes a deep breath and tells the Count that she needs this man to sleep at night. The Count takes a moment to understand. As soon as he understands, he is incredulous. This must be the most unbelievable thing his son has ever done. We see the protagonist lying on a dirt floor. Gradually, his consciousness returns. He is at the edge of a cliff, questioning what place this is and why it is so dark. Suddenly, a light appears illuminating his face along with a thunderous noise that alarms him.